The signal was never meant for us. It was meant to arrive earlier, long before our cities scraped the sky, before our machines learned to speak, before we believed that progress could outrun consequence. It was a warning, not of what would happen, but of what always happens. By the time we finally heard it, the ones who sent it were already gone. The signal was never meant for us. It was meant to arrive earlier, long before our cities scraped the sky, before our machines learned to speak, before we believed progress could outrun consequence. It was a warning, not of what would happen, but of what always happens. By the time we finally heard it, the ones who sent it were already gone. No one knows exactly when the structure was built. There are no records of its construction. No mention in surviving archives. No myths that clearly describe its purpose. Only the object itself remained, a solitary structure standing far from any known settlement. Too precise to be natural, too weathered to be recent. Its surface was carved with symbols that resembled no written language we recognized, geometric forms arranged with deliberate spacing, repeated patterns that felt less like decoration and more like instruction. Early explorers assumed it was ceremonial, a marker of territory perhaps, a monument to forgotten rulers. But monuments do not face the sky. This one did. When researchers first examined the structure, they noticed something unusual. The carvings were not random. They repeated at mathematically consistent intervals. Certain symbols appeared only in relation to others. Some never appeared alone. It was not art, it was syntax. The structure was not meant to be admired. It was meant to be read. But read by whom? At first, no one thought to look upward. The structure had been standing for so long that it felt rooted, anchored to the earth by time itself. Yet its orientation told a different story. The topmost face was angled, not toward the horizon, but toward a narrow band of sky that shifted slowly across the centuries. When astronomers reconstructed the night sky as it would have appeared thousands of years ago, they noticed something unsettling. The structure had once aligned perfectly with a point of deep space that no longer held significance, a point that had moved. Because the sky does not stand still, and neither does time. It took decades before anyone asked the right question. Not what was this structure, but when was it meant to be understood? The answer was written into the stone itself. Some of the symbols were not symbolic at all. They were numerical. Ratios, intervals, cycles. Not calendars of seasons, but of epochs. The builders had not been measuring days. They had been measuring eras. One symbol appeared again and again, always near the uppermost carvings. It resembled a narrowing path, a convergence. At first, it was thought to represent death, or collapse, or the end of a civilization. Later, a different interpretation emerged. It represented transition, a point beyond which comprehension changes, a threshold. The signal embedded in the structure was not active in the way we expected. There were no moving parts, no energy sources, no emissions. Instead, it was passive, waiting. Waiting for someone to notice the alignment. Waiting for someone to understand the timing. Waiting for a species capable of recognizing patterns not meant for its own age. The builders were not sending a message across distance, they were sending it across time. As translation efforts continued, a disturbing pattern became clear. The symbols did not describe who the builders were. They did not glorify achievements or record victories. They described failures, cycles of expansion, periods of mastery over energy, moments when technology outpaced restraint. And always the same ending. Collapse did not come from invasion or catastrophe or natural disaster. It came from certainty, from the belief that understanding the world meant owning it. One section of the carvings appeared to depict motion, not the motion of bodies but of intention. A line moving outward, then branching, then fracturing. Some interpreted this as exploration, others as colonization. But one researcher noticed something else. The outward motion was followed by a sudden reversal. Not retreat. Silence. The builders had reached outward, and something had answered. No one knows what that answer was. The structure offers no description, only consequences. A sudden halt in expansion. A narrowing of possibility. A return to inward focus. And then nothing. The final symbols grow sparse, simpler, as if the builders understood that no one would be left to read the rest. When modern instruments were brought near the structure, something unexpected occurred. Certain materials resonated, not audibly, not electromagnetically, but structurally. The stone itself responded to specific frequencies, not as a receiver but as a filter. It did not amplify signals, it constrained them. The structure was not calling out, it was preventing something from passing through. That realization changed everything. The structure was not a beacon, it was a warning marker, a signpost placed at the edge of a dangerous idea. Beyond this point, knowledge becomes uncontrollable. Beyond this point, progress accelerates faster than wisdom. Beyond this point, signals cannot be recalled. The builders knew something we did not. That once a civilization learns how to send its voice into the void, it cannot choose who listens. That communication is not neutral. It is exposure, and exposure invites response. The final carvings are the most haunting. They are not instructions, they are not explanations, they are acknowledgements, a recognition that the warning would not arrive in time. That curiosity always outruns caution. That intelligence mistakes capability for permission. The builders did not try to stop the future. They only tried to mark the moment when restraint mattered most. And they failed, not because the signal was flawed, but because it arrived too late. We stand now at the same threshold. We look outward. We transmit. We listen, and like those before us, we assume silence means safety. The structure still stands, its message unchanged, its alignment drifting slowly with the stars, waiting for someone else to understand it too late.